other people telling Mr. Ryan that things are going on, people are looking for you, stay safe, things like that.
Right.
They're not Mr. Ryan speaking.
Okay.
Your Honor, this portion, and I'll start with 1369. It is at the very bottom where the co-defendant Blaylock on this murder's nickname is Bali. And so Snake Life messages Mr. Ryan.
All right. What date is this?
This is 3 days after the murder, so February 26th.
All right.
And he says, Slime, Bali's locked up for that shit. And then the next time that they message Snake Life and Mr. Ryan is on page 1371, where Mr. Ryan says that's crazy. Like, he doesn't respond, what are you talking about, what me and Bali did, or what, and this is 3 days after the murder. And then, because you have to kind of take, in my mind, each thread, because what also...
Y'all may want to highlight the different threads in different colors so it's...
Yes, Your Honor.
Clear.
Yes, Your
This
Honor.
is one conversation. Here's another one. Okay.
The next one is this Instagram handle of DeAndre Smith.
All right. So is that the extent of that conversation then?
And then it goes further on 1371 at the bottom where Snake Life, the same person, says it's a warrant out for you, Slime.
All right. Okay. And that's the extent of that conversation then. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor. But it concludes with a video. In Instagram, you can see a video call event. You don't know how long or what
and
was.
is that highlighted, or are y'all going to highlight that?
Yes, Your Honor.
In a color that is unique to the two of them?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so that's relevant and appears to not just be a one-sided conversation. All right, so let's go back up to whatever the next thing is. So,
yes, Your Honor. On 1370, you have DeAndre Smith, who
saying, hit me up and stay low.
Correct.
And then 911.
Correct.
And then what happens?
There is a video call at the bottom of 1370 between Mr. Ryan and DeAndre Smith.
All right. So that one would be the same ruling. And then do we have a third thing going on here, or?
The state, I have highlighted a message from Dirty Stick that says be safe. The state would not be using that. So I'm going to remove that highlight.
All right. Thank you.
Judge, I guess just backing up the messages which are one-sided with DeAndre Smith. I guess I think that's what it is. It is one-sided. Not there's. I don't.
Well, what Mr. Atkins just said was there's a video call after that. Video call event.
I could be wrong. I don't think it shows whether that video call is answered. I think there's an attempt to make one. I could be corrected, but I don't think there's anything which shows that the video call did actually take place or that it was answered.
Good morning, everyone.
Your Honor, I don't believe that that is ever captured in Instagram records. Like, it shows a video call event and nothing more, is my understanding from having reviewed other Instagram records, that that's how Instagram captures it. It's not like a call detail record where it says like call completed, or that's all you're going to get, which can be argued, I believe, by, like when we introduced this, that could be crossed if you don't know if they actually spoke, but it's the state. So
I mean, I think it's even though, all right, yes, so
Pages at a loss of words.
but you will highlight the video call event as well.
yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, I'm going to permit that. So what's our next thing?
I believe there's an additional I'm sorry, Mr. Atkins, did you say you were going to take out the other conversation in 1371?
Okay. From 1K Dirty Stick.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's what he said. All right, so where do we go next?
I believe 1372 and $13.72, Judge, I believe is again a one-sided from ESPN self-made telling Mr. Ryan, stay where you are, don't
Lay low.
go to the house. And there's no response, I don't think, from Mr. Ryan.
What a lovely friend to
It's
warn him.
It's just hearsay, and we don't know if there was an effect on listener.
Your Honor, I was trying to, and I may have not included this. I can't find where I have Mr. Ryan's response to this in the thread. I may, when we have this break, look up the original thread to see if he ever responds to that.
Okay. So you can get back to us on that one.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Then what would be next?
So I'm guessing today they're just going over Rodelius Ryan's evidence, and that's part of the reason Ms. Love isn't there. But when they go on their next break, we are going to talk about the email that Bonnie Willis sent defending Ms. Love. Oh, I can't wait to get into it. Good morning, everyone. I'm Lyin Cadilac, aka OG Cadillac, aka Mother of the Decade.
Your Honor, the next few pages.
Hi, Tammy. Hey, Red Bunny. Thank you all for joining.
I don't know if there was anything on 1373.
It doesn't look like it. So would 1373 and 1374 is, I mean, they're in here, but
Yes, Your Honor. So 1373, there's more video calls between that DeAndre Smith and Mr. Ryan.
okay. So they're not highlighted, but you would highlight them?
Yes, Your Honor. I intended to. I missed some things when I was
Okay.
going through, or forgot to highlight. That was why I included that one.
All right.
Morning, Sandy.
And it continues on to 1374 also? Or is there a reason 1374 is in there?
So 1374, it partially continues. So what ends up, there's a new thread as well where, and I'll highlight this, it's kind of the totality of it where Mr. Ryan text or messages through Instagram DYN finesse and says, hey, this is Little Rod, can you help me get a lawyer? And then he's messaging again another person saying, hey, this is Little Rod, can you help me get a lawyer? And then he messages back to that DeAndre Smith who he's been video calling with, and he says, this is Little Rod, can you help me with a lawyer? So it's after all these people are saying, hey, there's a warrant out for your arrest, and some of these individuals, like for example, the DYN finesse, there's other photos with Mr. Ryan and that individual, and so that was why the state included this, was after all of this notification about the thing that him and Bali, hey, Bali got locked up for that stuff. He speaks to all these people, and then he's reaching out to various people to try to get a lawyer seconds later.
Okay.
Judge, I just don't think it's appropriate that the state is trying to use against him asking for
His
a
constitutional
lawyer.
right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yes.
Very good.
I'm going to exclude that if that's all that's for.
Thank you, Paige. Thank you.
Understood, Your Honor. I had
Morning, Plans and
there was
Pens.
more connection, but I'm not articulating it well in terms of these individuals and their connection. But understand the court's ruling will not use this.
Okay.
1374 is out.
Y'all, Atkins is so country.
And I think, well, they're right. So that would be 1374 through 13, what? Is that it? Just 1374 then?
Yes.
Okay.
In terms
All
of that.
They have 3 microphones.
So 1376 then is
Crazy.
something new. Is that right? Okay. And what is there an objection to that?
I'm not sure, Judge, on if the state, at least this one, is trying to assert that this is 1376, if this is Mr. Garlington, or they're trying to attribute this to Mr. Stillwell.
Draw this.
Okay.
See how much
All right.
faster things go when Lyin Love isn't there?
45,
Like, night and
35.
day, dude.
I don't see any more highlights.
I believe, Judge, and I will double check with Mr. Atkins, this is a block of conversations largely between other implicated parties who we would have no objection or no valid objection to saying they shouldn't come in, and also will be duplicative in a second document that we will discuss with the state. So
Okay.
the
We-
balance of this,
We'll just circle back to.
correct.
If
Okay.
needed.
Sounds
Okay.
good with me.
So then are we done with this document?
We are.
For now? Okay.
Okay.
All right, so where else should we then
Dylan wearing my
focus?
my butcher knife earrings.
We had objections
Are they
to
cute?
the document, which is Mr. Blaylock's Instagram. It's in that same Dropbox folder.
Okay.
Who's
Can
Blaylock?
y'all
I forgot.
point me to,
Yes, Your Honor. It's Blaylock Instagram produced.
yes, got it. And it's like 109.8 megabytes, is it that one? It's a PDF?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, yes. All right. And Blaylock was his co-defendant on this case, right?
Oh,
correct.
That's
All
what
right.
it
Your
was.
Honor.
Okay.
All right. And,
And also a defendant in this.
right.
Right.
Yeah, just a severed defendant, yeah, okay.
Okay, so what's Blaylock's nickname? Who is he?
All right, I have that open, so if y'all want to give me the page references where there is objection.
We're watching this morning
Judge,
live.
I believe, so we have no objection to page, the first photo, 89. I believe almost, if not all of these pages of Mr. Blaylock, oh, I'm sorry, there's some photos that page 91, this is relevance. I don't think we know who the other person in this photo is, so outside of that, we have just Mr. Blaylock.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm pulling up right now this document.
So they already had Sprinkle come in this morning and talk about the computer.
So, Your Honor,
remember?
this specific photograph, that Snake Life handle where he puts right hand, messages Ryan, what I wanted to go back and check was if some of the admitted threads we introduced, because the state wants to show that they have, interact with the same people and also each other. And so the purpose of this was that Snake Life is in Mr. Ryan's Instagram. I just want to double check with what we've just went through, if it's still included.
Okay, all right, so if the @SnakeLife handle is one of the things that came in as a communication with Mr. Ryan, you want to show that whoever this person is, @SnakeLife, also hangs out with Mr. Blaylock.
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
So Judge, the remainder of this document, I have the same notes on that there are, again, we don't have a good argument or any valid argument that conversations between Mr. Blaylock and other implicated parties in the murder, Tahira Hartsfield, we have no objection to those back and forth between Mr. Blaylock and Ms. Hartsfield.
Okay.
Conversations with Mr. Ryan. I believe everything else in here is Mr. Blaylock, who's obviously not sitting here with us, and unknown people. So I don't see how those are anything except rank hearsay and would not be admissible here. Against
Confrontation
Mr.
clause.
Blaylock, sure. But he's not here.
Right.
So, Your Honor, and just to orient the court of, basically, part of these Instagram records were part of just the murder itself in terms of who's messaging who. And I say that in terms of there were
say
some other
that.
females involved, and they were messaging both the victim's friends, Mr. Ryan, Mr. Blaylock, and so they're kind of in their own unique category. And then the other messages in this Instagram are tethered to count one, the RICO.
He loves our word
and the
tethered.
Street Gang Act charges. And so the state, with what is not covered in messages between the other people involved the night of the murder or Mr. Ryan, is for, and I'll explain what I'm, co-conspirator hearsay in furtherance of the criminal street gang. So, and I don't know where,
If I could pause one moment and add to that, Mr. Ryan and Mr. Blaylock are not charged with participation in criminal street gang activity, just the RICO.
Oh,
So for them, it doesn't really matter whether it's a gang or not.
Your Honor, count one
snap.
RICO is
RICO
Why-
by being a gang, basically, right?
correct, Your Honor. So what? Yes. So the state still,
It's a good
it is
argument.
important to prove and very relevant YSL, the criminal street gang, criminal enterprise, I should say.
morning, everyone. Thank
Yeah.
you for joining us over here.
Okay, so I think if the response to the hearsay objection is that it would come in under the co-conspirator exception, then I would need to kind of look at what we're talking about.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right.
I agree. And so I'm trying to find the first message that doesn't involve.
Okay.
And,
Okay, this is
and
live right
I
now.
mean, does the state, if the defense wants to, does the
Shall
court?
we get together on this one also? Would that be more helpful?
I think we just disagree. The state says these are co-conspirator. They come in and we say we have no idea who this.
Okay, well then, I mean, if you can point me to which ones we're talking about in this however many page document this
Okay.
is, then I can maybe
So
make a ruling.
The first one is going to be page 224.
Okay.
Nothing's highlighted. I don't know what.
They want to
I
hear.
don't know.
What is 224?
The state is so
So
unprepared.
are y'all ready on this, or do you need
Yeah,
to?
no,
look? Okay.
I'm ready, Your Honor.
All
I
right.
just, the 224, I believe, oh, I know why. So
Why?
we don't need this. He puts his phone number in,
Why?
We
224,
don't,
but
it's out.
It's out.
What's next?
I love Atkins. Why?
236.
He's so
next
country.
page.
Okay.
so one, his Instagram changes, but for the court's awareness, one King DO1 is Mr. Blaylock's Instagram. So at the bottom, when BB Infredo says, I was just locked up with you, we just got back from YDC, Youth Detention Center, though I was ROLAC. And so we're going to cover a number of things in terms of conversations about sex, money, murder, and conversations about YSL. And so Mr. Blaylock, they go back and forth, and Mr. Blaylock at the bottom of page 238 says, how do you know me? I'm murder as well, like saying I'm sex, money, murder. And then they explain about meeting each other, playing basketball in YDC, etc. And then he responds, Mr. Blaylock says, but I did not know you were ROLAC till now. And then he says, he asked if someone Honcho is rocking right.
He asked if someone's Honcho?
His name is HUNCHO, is still rocking right. And then Mr. Blaylock responds, yeah, he's still ROLAC, he's G. And so that particular back and forth is specifically about, which in the indictment it says YSL, criminal street gang, a subset of sex, money, murder. Verifying or checking in conversations between two people who within this text thread are identifying themselves with sex, money, murder, street gang. They're asking if this specific person is still rocking right. These are private Instagram conversations, and for the jury with Mr. Ryan and this overt act, Blaylock and Ryan's gang affiliation in connection with one another is relevant. And so the state is, with these in PDF of Blaylock, believes that this conversation about information about sex, money, murder, and other members, and when he's saying is someone still rocking right, like basically is he still in good graces, is he still, and they're confirming and validating with one another. Those kind of conversations happen frequently in a street gang and are necessary to know who's in the gang, who's not, and to So this specific thread is specifically about the sex, money, murder conversation. And that goes up to page 239. There's a separate,
39.
276 is a separate conversation.
Okay.
And
Thanks
that
for
would be
joining
good
us,
evidence, against Mr. Blaylock, who's not here.
I love that answer. That's how I respond
So,
in court.
Your Honor, in this trial itself, there's been conversations from APD gang detectives about Pete Rolak, sex, money, murder, the 2 pistols, and there's been a plethora of both state questions and cross-examination all about that.
He
So
said
having
plethora.
a private conversation with Blaylock, who the state believes the evidence will show, committed this act with Mr. Ryan, and are YSL members, and in which is a subset of the sex, money, murder criminal street gang as well. This is relevant because here in this thread, he is using and saying things privately with another individual he was locked up with in YDC. And even though Blaylock is not in this
excuse me.
trial, it's relevant for the jury to understand that this co-defendant, who's just severed, he would be in this trial, has the same gang affiliation and both YSL and sex, money, murder as Mr. Ryan, which has also been attributed to other defendants in this courtroom through testimony by APD gang detectives or social media. And so that's why the state wanted to include this specific portion. And specifically feels that because they're discussing criminal street gang, it furthers the criminal street gang because gang members need to be able to recognize one another and know who else is a member. It's not specifically about YSL, but it's about sex, money, murder,
YSL.
which is been.
Why?
So that's the state's on this specific thread.
There are a lot of relevant things. They're not necessarily admissible.
So
Very good response.
the thing that is causing me some pause with this is
Let's hear
that
it.
it's just this one conversation, right? And you're saying it should come in under the co-conspirator exception, and yet doesn't there need to be something outside of the conversation that establishes this other person's
Is the co-conspirator?
participation?
So, Your Honor, it's the whichever individual statement is being utilized as an exception to the co-conspirator hearsay. For example, anything that Blaylock states. The state, to the court's point, anything that Fredo would say, the state's position is, and again, it is kind of like line by line because I'm not going to be presenting other evidence outside of this text thread about Fredo and their gang affiliation. So the
Right.
state is relying on evidence which is in this Instagram or other evidence in the trial about Blaylock's gang affiliation, his
Right,
statements,
yeah,
and the
Blaylock,
effect on him.
not so much, but
Yes,
how
Your
about
Honor.
the other person?
So I would not, there's no other evidence that the state will be presenting or can proffer about specifically Fredo's sex, money, murder gang affiliation.
Okay, then how does this come in, or how does his part of this conversation come in?
Your Honor, the state would view what Fredo is stating is necessary to complete his response. It's like, for example, on page 239, it's Fredo who says, he
239.
asked if this individual, Huncho, is still rocking right.
Hoocho.
I don't know who that
I don't
individual
know.
is. The state's not
I
trying
love
to
his
assert whether
accent.
he
I
is
love
or is
it.
not, but Mr. Blaylock responds, yes, he's still Rolak. He's still sex, money, murder. He's G. And so, whether
The fuck is Rolak? Rolak? This is the first time I ever heard the word Rolak used.
you could insert any name for Huncho. It could be Fred, John. That same response by Blaylock of saying, yes, that person you're talking about, he's still sex, money, murder. That's why the state wanted to introduce this thread. And so Fredo's responses, the state believes, are necessary for context to Blaylock responding back. So have either a non-hearsay purpose or kind of necessary to complete Blaylock's response. Because if you just introduce Blaylock saying, yes, he's still Rolak, he G, you don't know what he's responding to.
What? He's learned from the Adrian Love School of Use
the
Many
state
Words.
for, just page 239, that, exchange, I think, is the best example of how the state, to get through hearsay, co-conspirator statement of Blaylock, and context to Blaylock's responses for Fredo on this specific text thread.
Wow. He went through the Lyin Love school of using many words and saying nothing. Congratulations.
So what do you actually need of these 3 pages?
Thank you. Yeah. Let's cut
So,
to the
Your
chase.
Honor, I think 239 is one of the more important of this specific thread, and the state could do without, or could, the state does not have to use 236.
Okay.
And then 238 at the bottom, where Mr. Blaylock says, how did you know I'm murder, sex, money, murder? And then would include 239, where that bottom portion, where he's asking if a specific person is still rocking right.
239. I have a good friend named Bill. He says, wife. My wife. I love it. 239. Why? Wife. Very country. Thank you, everyone who's here.
So, bottom of 238 is Mr. Ryan saying,
Mr. Blaylock, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, Mr. Blaylock saying, how you know me, you know I'm murder.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then the response is, but I didn't know you was Rolac till now?
Correct. And they're somewhat interchangeable in terms of Pete Rolac founded Sex, Money, Murder. So sometimes they'll say, I'm murder, I'm Rolac. And so, and then after that, this Fredo is asking Blaylock if a specific person is still rocking right. And Blaylock responds, yes, he's still Rolac.
Okay, I understand Rolac now, but I don't feel like they explained Rolac any time before, just now. Like, I've been watching all morning. I've been watching since November, and I feel like that was the first time Rolac, even though it's been used a bunch this morning, it's the first time anyone actually explained it. Judge is
So it
working
is
hard.
that Mr. Blaylock can affirm someone else's gang affiliation?
No.
Specifically Sex, Money, Murder, yes, Your Honor.
What?
Because he is also.
Correct, Your Honor.
Is your point.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess if the only thing. So could you do without but I didn't know you was, well, I guess not, because that's your whole point.
Judge, I still
that
don't understand
hearsay?
how we're getting around to hearsay
Yeah.
exceptions, or
It's just a
hearsay
matter of
prohibitions here.
And
Well, you don't understand for Frida or for Blaylock?
Either.
We don't have Blaylock here right now. I understand he's charged.
Right.
He's
And it's an out of
For
court
Frito.
statement.
No, I'm sorry, for Frito, yes.
Yeah, and I think that what the state's response is that you need both sides of the conversation to understand what is being offered what's being offered with regard to what Blaylock
That's
is
not
saying,
a hearsay exception.
which is
Needing both sides is not needing more of the story is not a hearsay exception.
Judge, given
The
the
fuck?
speculative probative value trying to piece together what this is saying on both sides, we would ask it be included under 403.
Yeah, how about
frankly,
that?
I'm trying to piece together all the different abbreviations,
Right.
Which I guess young people know, but I'm not young.
I'm with you, Judge.
It's all relative.
It shouldn't be this hard. If it's this hard for a judge to decipher,
Yeah,
don't put it in front of the jury.
I think.
Yeah, Paige isn't with it.
it might be better to just exclude this.
There we go.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
There
so
we go.
Then our next one is
276.
276. Okay.
Now here, Blaylock says he's talking to someone new. And
Okay.
he says, why the hell you didn't say you were slime when we were locked up? He's talking to someone else he was locked up with at YDC.
Okay.
And then the person responds, I didn't know you were slime. I just thought you were blood, slat. And then Blaylock responds, I'm an OG in that slime shit.
Is there any objection to that?
Hi, Kimberly, Pat,
Don't believe
Kayway,
so, Judge.
Brandy,
Okay, where's the
Jiggy.
next one that we have objection to?
These kids are at the juvenile detention center, you know, getting a degree in crime, basically. It's like an advanced degree in
I
criminality.
believe the next one is going to be
So I'm just going to show y'all. I had to go to a motion for summary judgment hearing yesterday in Midland, Texas. Motion for summary judgment is basically like, Judge, you don't need a trial. You can review the record and make a decision.
Are we saying anything that Mr. Blaylock says comes in?
I mean, in terms of him being a co-conspirator.
Right, well, he's a co-conspirator, but it has to be a conversation between two co-conspirators.
Well, you're going to need to point me to whatever the next objection is, because I'm not going to know what conversation we're talking about otherwise.
So,
Next one is going to be 292 with hot shit
Okay.
is the name.
And so, Your Honor, on 292, Blaylock's nickname is Bali. So that Instagram
I'm
handle
loving
that
Nikki
ends
Hilton's
in
shirt, her
LIJRR says, hey, Bali. And then he
Hey, Snoo-Noo.
says, a young person who stole the Mustang from CEP, he's trying to orient Bali to who he's talking about, to Blaylock. He says, he's trying to put me in slime, but he said I got to get put in by you. And he's talking about getting put in the gang, the street gang. And when he says, or go to 250, he's talking about 250 Cleveland. So if you follow this a little further,
because we already learned that they jump. YSL doesn't jump people in. I'm very confused.
they continue speaking, and Blaylock says he's going to have to give him money, $25, and then he responds, "I'm getting in the fire, right?" And Blaylock, and he says, "I'm trying to be real right." Again, that was that earlier. Real right means like I'm trying to be like official blood, and in this context, official YSL. I didn't want anyone coming up to me talking about I'm not real slime and shit. And then Blaylock responds, "Oh, you're going to be real slime. On slime, you will be." And then the person says, "All right, say no more." SNN saying, "Say no more. I am on Cleveland. Where are you at? I'm on Cleveland right now." And Blaylock says, "I'm on Cleveland." So this is in furtherance of the YSL criminal street gang because Blaylock
YSL.
is about to put this person in the gang. And he says, and the guy's like wants to make sure he's officially a member of YSL, and Blaylock assures him, "You're going to be real on slime, you will be." And then they talk about meeting up to
Crazy.
complete this conversation.
Hey, Purple
personally,
Paradox.
do what they need to do to get this guy in the gang.
So now there was never any kind of anything to be in the game.
And so once
now
again,
there's a $25 fee.
How is what the other person is saying?
So, Your Honor, to me, it completes the context of this thread. So whether, and looking at this line by line.
That's not
in
an
292,
evidentiary rule.
The first thing he says is, "Hey, Bali." So whether he means hello or goodbye, that statement is neither here nor there. And then he's orienting Blaylock. I don't know who he's talking about, the person who stole the Mustang from CP. Because Blaylock right above that says, "Who is this?" And so he orients him to a person. He might as well just take that phrase as a name. Instead of saying John, it's this person who stole the Mustang from this other person. And he says, that person is trying to put me in slime, but said I got to get put in by you or go to 250 Cleveland. And so for the jury to understand why Blaylock responds, oh, you're going to have to give me $25, and then they continue speaking about, and for Blaylock to say, you're going to be real on slime, you is. This whole conversation is about this individual trying to officially become a part of YSL. And so the state feels that Blaylock's statements are in furtherance of the gang, which needs members and continuously recruits or gets new members. And everything that this other individual is saying is necessary for
But all these members have to
Blaylock's
pay.
co-conspirator statements to be understood. The state's not arguing that this LILJRR is a part of YSL, because the whole point of this conversation is to get in the gang. And so the state feels that in terms of true hearsay, Blaylock's is in furtherance of the gang because he has to speak with, they have to meet up, and he's literally saying, I'm going to put you in officially into the gang. And what this other person says, whether he, you know, whoever this person is that they're trying to orient about stole the Mustang, or when this person is asking him, you know, I'm trying to get put in slime, but he said, I got to get put in by you. Whether that other person said that or not, the fact that orients
Still, the truth of the
Blaylock's
matter
responses,
asserted.
which again are to further the gang by getting a new member. That's properly verified by Blaylock.
Verified. Y'all, it's free to join my gang. Just hit subscribe. We're trial geeks. We like watching trials. We're watching the YSL RICO trial in Atlanta, Georgia right now because it's a fucking hot mess. So I went to Midland on summary judgment, and I brought this for my judge. This very neatly organized, color-coded, hole punch. Because when you go into a courtroom, you should be organized. You should have your shit together. For my members, I'm going to have a video soon of me in court, just like, we'll bleep all the pertinent things, but you can watch me in action. You'll see that I am organized, that I know what I'm saying. It is not like that from the state.
I'm going to have to come back to that one. I'm going to have to give that one some thought.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm
The
sure
state is
a
not
huge
going
chunk
to
of that 25 goes
use
to Jeff.
338, which is PDF page 15, Instagram page 338.
Okay.
On 342, Blaylock is asking Snake Life Maniac, which is a double reference to both YSL with the snake, and then you know, when he's crossing out the C, put an X. Nonetheless, he says, "Are you slime?" And the person responds, "Yes." Like, who are you? He says, "I'm Little Bolly. I'm slime and murder. I'm YSL and I'm sex, money, murder." And then immediately he asked the person who stamped you in slime, who basically made you official in the street gang. And the person basically is like checking him right back and saying, well, who stamped? I've never seen you on the Ave, talking about Cleveland Avenue. And so they go back and forth, and then Blaylock says, I'm on Cleveland all the time. I stay on the Avenue. And then he says, I'm a big dog. Ask me. My name holds weight on Snake, as in like I'm higher ranking in the gang. And then this person responds, I don't really be seeing you around. He says, I'm Maniac, and you can ask anybody on the Avenue. My name holds weights too. And then they ask, who stamped you in? And Blaylock says, Pokey. This is the same Pokey
Nobody's
who in
stamping
the
anybody
interviews
in.
of the shooting of YFN Lucci's mother were talking about Kenneth Copeland when they were at Big Boo's house and they got the call about $10,000. That's what those statements of Zachary were talking about. It's the same Pokey. And so he's saying, I literally got stamped in the gang by Pokey. And then this guy's kind of trying to verify this because he's like, well, you know, Pokey's been locked up for 6 or 7 years. So like, when did you get stamped? And then he responds back to him, Gorilla stamped me. And Blaylock says, I was YL, which is Young Loyalty, rock crew, raised on Cleveland crew. And they continue speaking. And the guy says, I never met the young rock crew. I just know Big Eye and the rest of them. And then Blaylock kind of verifies, he says, I be with twin of them, like I'm basically with them. So this whole conversation is them checking one another for are you legitimately YSL, et cetera, by the way that they're speaking. And so they list who stamped them in the gang and, mention kind of how they knew each other. And so this whole conversation is, again, it's the larger conspiracy of the criminal street gang. Doesn't have to be tethered to, in this specific context, is also part and parcel of the RICO criminal enterprise. They're kind of one and the same. The state's alleging and putting forth that this criminal enterprise is YSL, which is a street gang and a criminal enterprise. So this whole conversation is in furtherance of the criminal street gang because, again, you have to have a way to verify and check who's a member, because if someone is a member, you can trust them more. If they're not, you need to know that. And if someone's falsely claiming, that is a serious problem. And so this whole conversation furthers the criminal street gang enterprise because they are trying to verify one another. And is also Blaylock stating all of these things and actively claiming his gang affiliation, which, no, being a member of a gang in and of itself is not a crime, but in contexts like the one we're in, these kind of conversations, also go against his own interest when he gets charged later on in this exact RICO. So for those reasons, the state feels that this conversation is co-conspirator hearsay for both parties because of the way that they're using specifically YSL gang identifying language and verifying one another, which that kind of conversation is a conversation that furthers the gang. And so that's the state's position for this specific conversation of why it is not hearsay.
Judge, I understand all of that this conversation would establish this conversation. The co-conspirator hearsay exception, there has to be something besides this conversation. And we don't have anything.
Yeah, so I've got a question about that. And can other circumstances that are can other evidence corroborative of what is going on in this conversation be what establishes the existence of the co-conspiracy? I mean, the fact that they are talking about things that we know from other evidence, is gang related and is specific to this gang and things like that.
Your Honor, the answer is yes, in terms of, for one, if you started a trial with a co-conspirator, pre-trial you have a motion in limine, and you say the state wants to introduce this two gang members discussing, just think of the most perfect example of something that would fall into 801D2E. You could introduce that statement as the first piece of evidence with the proffer to the court that this evidence will come in to prove it. At this stage of the trial, in terms of October 11th, 2024, the state believes that there is an ample amount of evidence that YSL is a criminal street gang. That evidence of that, and the reason that's so important to the court's question is once that evidence is either established or you proffer to a court and ultimately before the trial resumes is in evidence, then all of these statements, if they further that conspiracy, then it would satisfy 801D2.
I think there is other evidence in this case that establishes that both of these people would be co-conspirators. So I am going to let this one in.
Judge, I guess I don't understand what the other evidence.
Well, I mean, like just for example, the focus on Cleveland and him already knowing that that's important, and the person Gorilla having been the one who stamped him, things like that.
Right, but the requirement is that it be outside of those statements.
Right. Right. No, well, right, which is what I'm asking then is it's not just their conversation together. We already know from other things that a focus on Cleveland Avenue and a person named Gorilla are related to and important to this alleged gang. And that is outside of this conversation. And so things within this conversation,
I don't think that's,
okay.
if I
So
can point you to a case.
Yes,
Yes.
because I would think, yeah, I need to know
Yes.
the answer to that.
I'm taking a look, Judge, at Williams versus State, which is 293 Georgia, 750 from 2013. And we are talking about co-conspirator statements. The requirement is a prima facie case. The rule says prior to introduction of the statements. That case held it didn't have to be literally prior, it just had to be at some point during the trial. But it states, furthermore, conspiracy may be shown by direct proof or by an inference deduced from acts and conduct. And the content of this statement is neither act nor conduct. The continuation, which discloses a common design to act in concert for the accomplishment of the unlawful purpose, the common design or purpose may be shown by direct or circumstantial evidence. But I think by that, there has to be act or conduct, not just the content of this statement.
Your Honor, if I may?
Yeah.
So I wrote this, and so the case citations, I'm looking at my motion that was filed July 26, 2024, which is the state's response in opposition to defendant Stilwell's motion for reconsideration. This is straight from Kemp v. State, a case 5 years afterwards, and is a seminal case. You need to look at gang conspiracy cases to fully appreciate the 801D2E exception in the context of a street gang RICO.
The site, please?
And so,
What's the site?
So,
Kim?
Kemp v. State is 303 Georgia, 385, 392, 2018.
385.
All of the cases that I'm going to be citing are in this e-filed motion on July 26 at 11:19 p.m.
E-file.
With all that said, starting from the basics, 801D2E. 801D2E mandates that the hearsay prescriptions do not apply to a statement by a co-conspirator of a party during the course and in furtherance of the conspiracy. So
But how
going
is-
on a little further, the state, and this is straight from Kemp, Penn site 392, the state is required to
392.
show by a preponderance of the evidence that, number one, a conspiracy existed, which in this case is the YSL criminal street gang enterprise.
YSL.
Number two, the conspiracy included the declarant and the defendant against whom the state is offered, which the state, again, this is Blaylock, this individual he's talking about, and the 6 defendants in this trial. They all have to be a part of the same street gang
Nobody
conspiracy.
has a problem with Blaylock being considered a co-conspirator.
Yes, Your Honor.
It's this other person and how that can be established.
So,
Okay.
You were getting to that, but
yes, Your Honor. And
Maybe
so
we're going to get there eventually.
I will find,
Oh, my bangs are crooked as hell, y'all.
I'm trying to find
on
the
my
case
own.
site on this specific, if you, court gives me one brief second.
sure.
So, this case is a nightmare. Lil Rod does have a good lawyer. Even Miss DeWilliams, she spoke up a few times. These two ladies working together, I think, do a great job. So, I think they're doing great. I think they're really making the state do their job, which to me is very important when you're doing criminal defense. Like the state is trying to put someone away. They need to do their work. They need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. They need to have all of that together. They should have it. Should be in binders, maybe. I don't know. I might be old school with my binders, but I like them.
Sorry,
I
Mr.
like
Atkins,
making
the
them.
pin site, please.
Penn site was 392 for,
Thank you.
But I'm not sure it answers the question we're discussing right now.
Don't want the damn pin site. Still need to be able to check the case law. Hello.
Well, maybe it does, I don't know.
well, Your Honor, I would, so, I was trying to find a,
Find.
my understanding
Okay,
is if you had a statement, you're not restricted to the 4 corners of, you just have to prove to the court by a preponderance that the person making this statement, which in this context is,
He doesn't even know who's making the statement.
snake life maniac,
right.
you can use the four walls, so to speak, of this Instagram thread. You could also use other evidence if the state had it. The court just has to find that Snake Life Maniac is, to a preponderance, a member of the same criminal street gang conspiracy as Blaylock and the defendants. Or the argument the state makes in terms of if you believe Blaylock's statements further the street gang and there was some either context on Blaylock or non-hearsay purpose. That's how the state frames this specific issue of, and the state does believe that this is one of those unique circumstances where, because of exactly and specifically the way that they are communicating in these pages we just walked through, that to the 51% for lack, it's not numeric, but in preponderance it's pretty close. This court can make a finding that based on the way that they are discussing, and this is where the other evidence at trial that I'm not going to run through all right now, but the evidence of APD gang detectives, the other identifiers of YSL criminal street gang that this individual is using, his handle itself is Snake Life, coupled with, again, none of these are dispositive, but I believe that to a preponderance through this conversation, the court could find that this individual is a part of the same conspiracy as Blaylock and the defendants, which is the YSL criminal street gang enterprise. That is the state's
I'm just trying
argument.
to sort out if the something outside of the four walls can be
Used.
like the two examples that I already mentioned, and that kind of corroboration is sufficient, which I would think it is. So, and frankly, you just also mentioned his Instagram handle, which might be enough right there. All right, so I am going to rule this admissible. However, Ms. Abbasi, if you come up with something that answers the inquiry differently, then please let me know and I'll reconsider the ruling.
Of course.
Okay, and
Right.
I'm sorry, the inquiry would be if there's
Of course she's going to reconsider it.
something
If the something outside of the conversation can be
part of the,
something like
what his name was, or
what his name was, or that he has what seems to be inside knowledge that we already know from other evidence is significant to this alleged gang.
Give me 1 moment to write it down so I don't bring you a bunch of irrelevant case law.
Okay.
Oh, she's a lefty. I'm going to start a gang called YSL. Middle-aged slime life. YSL. It's for those of you who are tired like me. It's free. I don't charge no $25.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So sorry to take us down a detour, but it's
Look at
fairly
YSL
important,
Silver
so.
Fox stretching in the background there. He's
think it
tired.
was
He's
a
like,
legitimate
God, is it
detour.
lunchtime yet?
all right.
Maybe
I don't know, Veronica, who they're talking
it
about. I
matter
don't
that
know.
we should take a look at before going further, because that is literally the same
Okay.
argument and basis up through page 30 or page 34 of the document, and we don't have an objection to the remainder, which is co-defendants.
Okay.
Probably some
Right.
unindicted,
Keep arguing the same
unnamed,
thing. Next
unknown
one.
All right. So we'll
co-conspirator.
need to know the answer.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So where should we move next?
To the trash can.
Videos, Your Honor.
Put this whole case in it.
And Mr. Atkins, if you could say like the last 4 of the videos that you're gonna play, so I can follow along. Thank you.
Okay, C.T. Williams is up here earning her keep, earning her money.
Is there a particular, Your Honor, could I have just 30 seconds with defense counsel? We can see where it makes the most sense to start.
All right, while you do that, I have some theories about where Lyin Love is today. If you watched the beginning this morning, if you watched the trial this morning, there was a big discussion about some email that Fonnie Willis sent about an employee, where Fonnie was like ruthlessly or whatever defending the
Your
employee.
Honor, we're going to start, and I hope the court's Dropbox is oriented the same, but what I classify as the bottom, but I'll give, they're titled different ways. They don't all have, they're not all
They're titled
numbered one
differently.
through completion.
Of course they're
but
not organized.
there is an there's a video from 12, it's titled 12/20/2021 video, and it's 54 seconds.
At least the title makes sense, I guess. It's not going to be organized, at least, makes sense. So, anyhow, the backstory on the email that
Okay.
Fonnie
I don't have an
sent
objection to that one.
Okay.
was that someone had emailed the judge and said
There
that Love
is
was doing a bad job.
Another one with, it's 2/8. It's, some of these do have numbers. It starts with 28. It says videos 18, and it has, if you can read the letters, free big as the caption. It's 15 seconds.
So, apparently, some citizen wrote some email to Fonnie and Love and the judge.
One more time, Mr.
All right,
Allen.
I only
that
see
Lyin
one
Love is a
that
bad lawyer.
starts 28 videos and then underscore 1888 something or another. Is that the one?
Yes.
So then Fonnie wrote this email back directly to the judge supporting that Love is not a bad lawyer, but she's a terrible lawyer. And that was all yesterday, I think. And so I think that's why Miss Love is not there today. That is my theory. They also revoked Mung Tunk's plea offer based off of his testimony, which I find fascinating because, as you recall, Trontavious Stevens, aka Tick, also
If that's-
testified similarly to
Yes, could you
Mung.
play for the court? I'm sorry.
Because Mung Tunk
I'm
attacked
frankly, I'm
the
not
plea
on.
deal.
I'm not logged into Zoom. I'll just watch it on. well,
Yeah,
on
tea
there.
latte, it is
Does
juicy.
the audio matter? Isn't this already in?
No, it's not, Your Honor.
Does the audio matter? Because I don't have my audio on.
So this I'll be objecting to relevance? It does. It
Okay.
says peace and blessings, which isn't a bad thing.
Fair.
You want us to clear it?
Okay.
Just-
Email sent to Love. Love sent it to Fonnie. Fonnie sent it to
If
the
I can
judge.
Get my speakers. Ooh,
My
that's
guess
loud.
is that Lyin Love's embarrassment. My theory is her embarrassment and the fact that she doesn't really have much to do with the Rodelius Ryan evidence that's going on
All right,
here
what's the objection?
is why she's at home today.
Your Honor, this is Mr. Darius Ford, Your Honor. So this shows a video with Mr. Ryan and Mr. Darius Ford, who we'll talk about further. He'll come in probably in the next couple of weeks. He was the individual who was killed right after Mr. Rayshawn Bennett was stabbed. Not right after, but a few weeks after Mr. Rayshawn Bennett was stabbed in the Fulton County Jail. And we believe that, or the state's theory is that Mr. Ford and Mr. McMillan were killed as a retaliation of that stabbing. And so this shows the association with that individual. And I believe within the post he says YSL as well. So
Okay.
she stamped in there.
And who's gonna identify him?
Such great
Oh, sorry.
evidence.
Who will identify Mr. Ford?
Yeah, that this is the person in the video.
Investigative Viverito.
All right, it's overruled.
And we also have a picture of him with another YSL co-defendant, Durante Beebe, that we entered.
You also need to hold that mic closer to you.
We,
And
on.
turn it on.
I believe it's on.
Then hold it closer to you.
Okay. I'm sorry. Mr. Ford, YSL is not in the video. Mr. Ford, we believe, is a YSL member. There's also a picture of, you asked how can we identify him? We have a picture of Mr. Ford that has already been admitted with Mr. Ford and another co-conspirator. Durante Beebe.
Okay, Mr. Sharp?
So, Your Honor, my objection isn't whether this is Mr. Ford or not. My understanding is the state is saying Mr. Ford's an important part of this story because he is murdered in 2022. I understand this is a RICO case, but for the purposes of the importance of Mr. Ford and Mr. Ryan being linked, Mr. Ryan is in prison at the time of Mr. Ford's death, as well as the death that the state is claiming was payback for Mr. Ford's death.
Okay.
So, Mr. Ryan, and the reason I say that is because while I understand the state has established connections of Mr. Ford to other people, and I understand their argument for the relevance of that, I don't think that this case requires a link between Mr. Ford and Mr. Ryan
No, it's
as much. And my concern is obviously the prejudice and the spillover prejudice on all of us when the way of showing the link between Mr. Ford and Mr. Ryan, which I say has very limited probative value, but the video itself that shows that link involves Mr. Ryan waving a handgun around. So that's my concern.
So
Well, Brick
yours
City,
is a
if the
four,
state has
three.
it their way, yes. Someone else's handle can be used against you.
Response.
Yes, Your Honor. A part of our indictment, again, Your Honor, is that these individuals maintained armed individuals ready and willing to preserve, protect, and enhance the reputation, power, and territory of the enterprise through the use of violence. The fact that Mr. Ryan is publicly, these are public posts, toting his gun, and he is with another YSL associate, Your Honor, we believe that the probative value is not substantially outweighed by its unfair prejudice.
This is America, y'all. We be
overrule
waving
the
guns and
4-3
shit. I
objection.
mean, come on.
What's next? Which is our next one that is objection, that there is an objection to?
Okay, good. They got rid of that one. Ridiculous. We're allowed to own guns in this country, y'all. We're allowed to have tattoos. We're allowed to be in gangs if we want to. I don't know.
I guess is it the 12/25 to 2021? Is that the next one?
That's Christmas.
And what's the objection?
Cumulative?
Cumulative?
Because it's saying just Merry Christmas, changing out the.
This is a video?
It is a video. But I
And-
believe the audio is just rapping in the background.
I gotta mute that. God forbid that actually be something. I don't want to get a copyright takedown. That's crazy. They were talking dirty about his lawyers on X, the little guy. Who's they? Who was talking dirty about his lawyers? I hope the music's over. Let's see. Okay, good.
What's next?
Yeah, Paige says what's next. Judge Whitaker is over. You hear me? OVER, over this shit. She started off yesterday, or I'm sorry, they didn't have any in court yesterday. They started off
Tell me the next one
Tuesday.
you have objection to.
Just
Sorry. I believe the last
Nay,
four
nay,
is
welcome.
8521. 29 videos.
I am sure you did well on your finals.
You
Nate.
can't see anybody that's in the vehicle. It's just a gun and a camera. And the caption on the video is a stick emoji and a star emoji. So that would be relevant, cumulative, foundation.
Your Honor, this, and Mr. Ryan is wearing a YSL chain. This is a public video where it has that snake, and you know that if the court can see, that is a
What is that?
probably
sound?
50-round drum in the magazine on the bottom of that gun. So it's a public display
Are they replaying
of
the video?
both YSL and a fire, and Mr. Ryan used the firearm. So the state's purpose
Fire.
of this video is to show that public display which is important to, one,
Okay.
create fear or, for the gang.
Got it, overruled.
They already have photos of him with guns.
Not with a gun, with that kind of a attachment. While wearing a YSL chain. All right, next.
It is pretty damning evidence, isn't it? Whitaker said, yeah, no, that's going in.
The last for 700531. I guess video 31, the last for
Okay.
7005.
All right.
Cumulative, relevance.
All right.
The huge. The huge.
There's the state will withdraw this specific video.
Okay.
Next.
Okay, state starting to do withdrawing of evidence. Thank God. Jeez.
3452, number 32. 452.
And the objection is?
Your Honor, it's probably going to be the same. Relevance, cumulative.
Oh no 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 copyright, no copyright, no copyright, no copyright. You know, it's very funny because I don't really actually listen to hip hop very much at all. I know 2 Young Thug songs. I didn't know who like any of these people were. I really just like, it's not my type of music that I'm super into, so but I started watching this case because they're going to use lyrics against them, and I am a huge supporter of art and the First Amendment. I'm a supporter of all the amendments, honestly, so that's why I started watching it. And then this case is just a fucking train wreck, so it's really fun.
A lot of.
Yes,
Next.
So today they're actually like getting through evidence and stuff. I
The
think
next
part of
one
that
is
is because Miss Love isn't
0944,
there.
number 34.
Don't you? I mean, don't you feel like
It's
a
the
big
same
part?
thing, cumulative, relevance.
All right, is there
Going
something
life.
new in this?
Oh my god. Pause for the no. Quit playing music. Quit playing music in the background. That's why, actually, the music is why I started. Not because I like the music. I really don't care for it at all. I did listen to a couple songs after the trial started. I thought they were stupid. But the First Amendment protects the right to art, free speech, freedom of expression. And in 2024 or 2022, when this started, I didn't think we prosecuted art. Like, my understanding of how we treat art in America and under the law was that we wouldn't be doing this kind of thing. So that's why I started watching this, because I was like, what is going on over there? Why would they prosecute someone on art? That's very bizarre to me. So that's how we got here.
All right, why don't we break for lunch?
Go ahead, they're breaking.
And let's just be back at 1. Yeah.
I think you said you want to think about, I believe it's Mr. Blaylock's statement to someone else about joining the
Right.
gang. And, I'm sitting here and I don't know how that comes in. Mr. Blaylock's not a party opponent, and I'd like you to look at a case if you're
Exactly.
going to do that. If that's okay, it's Kirkland, Kirkland.
Shit, it's
versus
still
State,
passed out.
318.
Look at him.
Georgia,
He's
639.
asleep.
And it's a 2024 case,
Brian Steele always has the
and it's
case
in
on.
division 4. And it actually cites the Kemp versus State
Okay.
case, which is what the state. And in that case, the Supreme Court makes it clear that the conspiracy must include the declarant and the defendant whom the statement is being offered against. And the court said that the trial court in that case gave a proper instruction limiting that statement only to the person who was on trial. It was co-defendants only to the person making the statement. Mr.
Was it a
Blaylock-
RICO case?
It's a gang case. It's not. No, I don't. It's not a RICO
Okay,
case.
I think that might make a difference.
I don't see
think
why
so.
that makes
Why?
a difference if we're under 24-8-803 D2, 804 D2E. I mean, that's what the state is traveling.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
Okay. Thank you.
The judge got a lot of reading to do at lunch
And the
today,
same
though.
in Kemp. Kemp has the same exact language.
I take a look at both of them.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. Appreciate it.
Ann Williams. I'll look at
Judge?
all three of them. Yes.
How quickly do you need that additional case law? Simply because my internet connection is not very cooperative.
Well, I mean, do what you can over
Okay.
the lunch break. Maybe you can find somewhere else. We've got a Wi-Fi, like a.
Yeah.
Nobody
Are you
has a
joined to that?
hotspot?
Yeah.
Maybe
Nobody
you
has a
can just move
hotspot?
somewhere
My
else.
phone
It
is a
doesn't seem to be
hotspot.
great in this
Sure.
courtroom, or frankly, anywhere in the courthouse.
Our
Why
Wi-Fi sites
we
in the
can't
courthouse.
get that fixed, I don't know, but.
Government.
All right, see y'all
page.
back in an hour.
She does know. She works for the government. She knows we don't like paying taxes in this country. Don't act stupid. Hi, everyone. Wow, what a morning, huh? I'm Lauren Cadilac, aka OG Cadillac, aka Mother of the Decade, aka the best lawyer on the internet. Actually, just the best lawyer in general. All right, so look, Veronica, she has to dye her hair. You can't have roots. Let the woman keep her hair maintained. I dye my hair every 6 or so weeks. Like, be nice to Paige. Judge Whitaker is sitting here watching the worst lawyering she's ever seen in her whole life, I promise you. And she is dying inside. And I am sure that it is causing her to, prematurely gray. And that would upset me personally. Okay, so we are watching the YSL trial. This last week they were out for the second half of the week for Rosh Hashanah. This week they were out for the first half of the week for I don't know. My understanding is they're out this weekend, or this part of the week and the weekend for Yom Kippur, but I don't know. So right now, starting on Wednesday, they had non-jury days. So they're just in there working on motions, talking about the evidence, what should be excluded, what should be included, blah, blah, blah. All right. So there had been a whole, 6 days for motions to be made, for writing, for the judge to review all the shit she said she would review, so on and so forth. So you expect a lot of good work to come out of that. And I actually do think, they did do a lot of work, and I was very proud of them. Okay, look, y'all, if you are like me and you color your hair, and it doesn't even matter, the grades, but just the fact, if I don't color my hair often, it starts to look real raggedy and shit. It's ugly. So don't be mean to, dyeing your hair is very basic human maintenance, okay? As is going to see your esthetician, which I'm doing tomorrow if you guys are in Dallas. Her name is Cynthia. She owns Cynthia's Wax and Skincare. Oh, wonderful. Look how young I look. All right, so the prosecution did finally start to have some work. They started to do some work. They actually started looking at, can I get rid of this? Can I get rid of that? Okay. So, y'all gotta quit sending these people. Let them do this damn trial and then complain to the appropriate places. Don't be emailing Fani Willis. Don't be, oh my God, is this? Oh, here's the email. Hold on. Here is the email, y'all. Okay, this is the email they were talking about this morning. Maybe. I don't know if this is the actual email. Oh, jeez. In Memphis, they can't do RICO. Yeah, because they respect the people and the state's burden of proof, and they don't want to be put in jail and tried behind some bullshit in Tennessee. So good for them. Good for them. Okay, so when they got back Wednesday morning, y'all, I do not know who Adrian Love, like, where she got her style, who told her things were appropriate or okay. But when you see what she's wearing on Wednesday, I'm just like, what the fuck is this bitch thinking? Like, does she think? Is she colorblind? She's colorblind. Let's say she's colorblind. Okay. Shay says that is the email. So the thing with that email, that's the one they were talking about this morning. Apparently that response was from Fani to someone who emailed Miss Love about what a shitty job she's doing and a terrible attorney she is. Okay. Fani then sent that response to the judge. The judge then forwarded that to the defense. And the defense this morning said, Judge, tell the DA to stop with these out of court freaking discussions with you and tell them to cut this shit out. They know better. So, you know, they say like the shit trickles down, right? We can see from Fani's response to someone's email to Miss Love, this is a culture of just bad lawyering, bad decision making. Yeah, it sucks. It's awful. All right, so on Wednesday, we have Paige just came in and just got to work, y'all. She was ready. Let's go. She said, I'm done with this bullshit.
All right.
Love those earrings, by the way.
So I appreciate that, Mr. Steele, and that can be sealed to the extent this
But I
record
do think
ever
Judge Whitaker has aged.
goes anywhere.
In like the last 3 months, she's just, ugh, look at her, she's aged.
All right, I know that there are some things outstanding. There's been a request that be handled tomorrow instead of today.
Yes, ma'am.
That's fine. No.
Okay, so we're not in front of the jury. I love the sweaters, the men in sweaters. I'm assuming it's still hot in Atlanta, though. I think you're being a little dramatic about the temperature of the courtroom. I went there, it was fine. I mean, most of the people have to wear blazers, you know, so the lawyers are having to wear blazers, and we're already kind of like hot because we're nervous and stuff. It's not even fair.
Case law on the issue of whether the RICO conspiracy can be established based on an overt act that's not alleged in the indictment. Frankly, it's a lot of stuff to read, and since some of the submissions were late last night, or, you know, basically all throughout the day yesterday, I have not read all of that, so we'll take that up at some other time, and that's really more of an end of trial issue for us anyway.
This judge is way better than Leah. When you don't like this judge's rulings, typically when I'm upset with her ruling, it turns out usually it's not her, it's the state of Georgia and their stupid fucking laws. The laws in the state of Georgia are shit. I mean, they're total fucking crap. And Whitaker said this morning, like, I'm a judge. I just apply the laws that the legislature creates. So all these people have an issue with the RICO, and write the legislature. You know, if you don't like these rulings, go vote. But the laws of Georgia fucking blow. And I'm glad I'm a Texan. Every day I watch this, I'm like, oh, thank you that I'm a Texan. Thank you, Lord. Could have been born in shit-ass Georgia. Ugh.
I think we're ready to
Everyone's a criminal in Georgia.
argue and consider the motion in limine. What was it, 62, I guess? All right.
I almost died because this morning Atkins said plethora. And Demetria, hey goddess, Demetria had made a joke about people who say plethora. This.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching our coverage of the Young Thug trial. Now I want to take a quick second and I want to tell you about this.
What is she thinking? This is worse than the highlighter green, y'all.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Okay, so these are evidence.
Your Honor, I just handed this honorable court and the parties, although I ran out of copies, I just gave it to Mr. Matthews. The case I cited in motion limiting number 62, Ebersole, E-B-E-R-S-O-L-E versus State. It's 371 Georgia Appeal, 1 Southeast 2D. Happened in our case previously, and I understand this honorable court was not with us, but the prosecution through ATF agent Racy was testifying. He was at one time with Cobb County Police Department, and he was the lead detective on a case against Mr. Jimmy Winfrey, and that is in Cobb County case number 15-9-2765. And he was asked by Prosecutor Hilton about a jail call, and the jail call had something to the effect of, when Mr. Winfrey comes home, he will be given a Porsche and $250,000. It was something to that effect.
I remember that.
And Ms. Hilton then asked Detective Racy, within approximately a month from that time, that jail call that the jurors just heard, did in fact Mr. Winfrey enter guilty plea? I objected.
Okay, I remember
that guilty
that.
plea was vacated and found to be coerced by
Yes.
the Georgia Supreme Court in Winfrey, W-I-N-F-R-E-Y versus State, 304 Georgia, 94. 816 Southeast 2D 613 2018. And it says specifically in that case that that guilty plea is void, is null, and cannot be used for any purpose. We approached the predecessor judge, and he said he didn't know about that case. It's on the record. It was at the bench. And I said, well, here's the site. And he said, well, I'm not going to read it. And I said, well, I'm going to cross him on it. And I'm going to subpoena the lawyers. And I put them on my witness list who entered that plea. And I have a certified copy of the Supreme Court opinion vacating it. And this predecessor judge said I couldn't do any of that. Ms. Hill then came back to the podium and asked Agent Racy the next series of questions. Well, was that plea, for whatever reason, vacated, and a short time later did Mr. Winfrey enter a guilty plea? I again objected. I was not allowed to go into it. The essence of this motion, number 62 of Mr. Williams, is I believe that that's already a constitutional violation, so it has to be harmless beyond a reasonable doubt. Because
was there any kind of instruction?
no, no, it was. I can't cross on it. Mr. Matthews can't cross on it. We were all barred, and it came out that way that Mr. Winfrey pled guilty, and this dealt with the April 26, 2015 tour bus shooting of a gentleman named Dwayne Carter. He's a phenomenal artist, musical artist, known as Lil Wayne.
I don't know why he always has to say the
state
artists
gets
are
vetting.
phenomenal.
Now, the predecessor judge did keep out the indictment on my objection, because the indictment named as co-conspirators, unindicted co-conspirators, Mr. Williams in that event, and it was a RICO count. The further objection was that Mr. Winfrey, he didn't really plead guilty. This is the most favorable Alford plea, and I attached it to Mr. Williams' number 62, that, that I have seen where the predecessor judge specifically, excuse me, not the predecessor judge, Judge Staley, it's S-T-A-L-E-Y, and it's Staley Clark, C-L-A-R-K, Cobb County Superior Court. She specifically acknowledges that this is not a guilty plea, this is a best interest plea. He's not entering admission of guilt. The Honorable Steve Sadow, which is Steve, S-T-E-V-E, and Sadow, S-A-D-O-W, was the lawyer. He specifically said that we are doing this just because it's been 5 years and Mr. Winfrey wants to get out of custody. And I attached that, and I have a certified copy of that Alford plea. Anyway, the way it came in.
So, if you remember, the dude had made a plea, and it was found that the judge he had made the plea with coerced him into it, talking about big shit, rest your life in jail, blah, blah, blah. So, St. Nicky Hilton had introduced that, and you remember there was a whole thing in front of Glanville, right? Then there was the second plea. Well, what we didn't know, and I don't feel like I heard before, is that plea was an Alford plea, which is like, I'm taking the heat because I need to go back to work, and that's that kind of thing. It's like no admission of guilt. Like, I didn't do it, but I'm sick of the government, so I'm going to plea. And then Steele is saying even more so, more than just the Alford part, like they, in the plea, are like, hey, it's been 5 years, we just want to get this shit over with. And St. Nicky Hilton put that in front of the jury as if, like, he was guilty of this crime. So the way it's in front of the jury right now the jury thinks that the dude has like accepted guilt, that, you know, but the reality is he was like, okay, I'll take the heat because I just need to get out of jail.
Was so wrong, and we had cases that we were citing to the predecessor judge explaining that a person who's not testifying, the fact that they pled guilty, people plead guilty for any numerous reasons, should not be allowed to come in against Mr. Williams and the others here. So going forward, I put this on this court's radar because it is my belief and understanding, and if it's not going to happen, that's great, that Mr. Kendrick has pled guilty to being in a criminal street gang, specifically YSL, when he was with Mr. Martinez-Arnold. Martinez Arnold is going to be a witness, but he did not plead guilty to that charge. And it's my understanding that the state intends to have an exhibit, a certified copy of the guilty plea of Mr. Kendrick. And that should not come in against Mr. Williams or any of the other people here for the same reason.
Let me stop and ask the state. Is your position that it comes in against anybody other than Mr. Kendrick?
Oh, God, not her. Oh, God, not the... Sorry, the sound of her voice made me sick. BMW. No, I do not believe in straight ticket voting. So this is a great question, and I'm going to get onto my high horse real quick. Straight ticket voting is terrible, and the reason is you end up having judges like Landbill because they run under the ticket, and then you're just voting for them because they just happen to be a Democrat or a Republican or whatever it is your straight ticket on, and then for the next 4 to 6 years we have a terrible fucking judge. So no, I can't do any straight ticket anywhere because for me, in terms of voting, like, the Fed doesn't really affect many of us unless, like, we work for the federal government directly or somehow. Most of us are not really affected on, like, a real super direct level. And usually the effect of, like, federal... So here's an example. In Clinton's reign of terror, he deregulated the banks. And then the... like, effect of that didn't come until 2008 when the mortgages crashed because the banks weren't regulated anymore, so they could, like, loan to anyone with a pulse. So the effect of the federal to us is, like, so far and long. Like, that level of voting doesn't even really matter that much. But every goddamn day... every day of my life, I have to deal with judges, right? And I have to deal with how they run their courtroom, how they manage their courtroom, if they manage their courtroom at all. If you're a member of this channel, you'll get to see some videos in the coming weeks of me in court, and you'll see how fucking mean the Dallas judges are. They just yell at people for no reason. And it doesn't, like, it's, I know, woe is me, right? But I went to Midland yesterday, and it was not like that. It was wonderful, collaborative. We got through it. Boom, boom, boom. All right, so my point is never straight ticket vote. If you are a watcher of the show, then you should know better to do straight ticket voting, because reality is the local people have more control over your life than the federal. The local people, like, locally, you could get fucked by an Adrian Love, right? And Adrian Love can get her eye on you, oh, you're a RICO leader, and then fuck your whole life up, right? But, like, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are never even going to know your name, period, right? So you have to, I weigh those things, and I do not vote straight ticket. No, I can't vote straight ticket. I have a nemesis judge that I hate, and I have to vote for anyone but her. So no, can't do straight ticket. And I recommend no one do straight ticket. I don't give a fuck who you vote for. Reality is you can vote for whatever president you want. The Electoral College is going to choose the president for you anyhow. So, wah, wah. The real reality that's important is the judge that can, you know, put you in jail because you're in contempt, or can allow a trial to go on for 3.5 years while you're paying for a defense attorney. See how that would have a greater effect on your life? Yeah, so. Okay. Y'all, the atrocities of the prosecution and their outfits on Tuesday. What the fuck was St. Nikki Hilton wearing? I do like her haircut though. Her hair looks real good. I'm assuming now that the braids were a protective hairstyle. Yes, I do know some about natural hair. And I think her hair looks so good. Look how smooth and sleek it is. I wish my hair could be that smooth. It's so pretty. But no, I just have like just frizzy hair. It's fine. It's fine. I'm just lucky at this age to have hair, if I'm honest. So. Okay, so St. Nikki Hilton is wearing, just like Love did last week, another picnic tablecloth. Like, why? I don't know. The jury's not there, so it's fine. You can look like, walking piss in a tablecloth, but...
Is that YSL maintains armed individuals ready and willing to preserve, protect, and enhance the reputation, power, and territory of the enterprise. And the fact that he had this gun in the bedroom that he was in underneath his bed, we believe is relevant to show. All right.
See, okay, so here they're trying to talk about, well, he had a gun under his bed when he was busted. But unless he was not legally allowed to own that gun, like he's a felon or something, I don't think that should be used against him. Like, we're allowed to own guns. It's our Second Amendment right. It is so important. It was the Second Amendment. And even more important than that was the freedom of speech and art. That was the First Amendment, most important. Second Amendment, second most important. So now you're trying to use the First and Second Amendment practice against these people. Fuck you.
Who's going to be arguing these for the defense? Sure, that's fine. All right, whoever is going to take this portion.
Your Honor, it was explained in our case law that our gang statute was modeled after our RICO statute. And I cite the case to the court, and I did not bring extra copies. I apologize. Alexander, ALEXANDER versus State. It's 371 Georgia 2024 case. That it is essential that the state, I'm quoting, demonstrate that the commission of the predicate act was intended to further the interests of the gang. So this is a gang count, and the appellate court held that just doing some crime or having some gang paraphernalia, or in this case a gun under the bed, that's not enough to say that this furthers the interest of the gang. There's no nexus. Yeah. And here, the state has continually put into evidence.
Everyone in America has a gun under the bed. Y'all, everyone in Texas, maybe not in New York or New Jersey or California, but like pretty much every other state in America, especially Texas, everyone has a gun under their bed. What the fuck are you talking about? How else do you protect your home? Hello? Hello? I don't get it.
People associating with other people. This is Mr. Sumlin, correct? Who I believe is going to testify. Okay. And the fact that he has drugs or guns or slogans of violence, I'm not saying he does, but you have to show that somehow that gun or that act somehow affected and there was a nexus to the trial that's going on. The state has other pictures of him with guns, so I also say it's cumulative and unnecessary evidence. But that's my argument.
All right. The site, Alexander?
Yeah, 71, 532.
Thank you. And we don't have any other picture of Mr. Sumlin with guns that we intend. Sorry, if you can hear me, I'm sorry. We don't have any other, and I'm just confirming, but I don't believe we have any other pictures of Mr. Sumlin with guns. This is the only picture we have, and that's because he was arrested with this. Again, the weapon was underneath his mattress when he was arrested. They believe that he had this gun to further gang purposes, but I think in terms of what needs to be shown for the state to secure its admission, that's been satisfied. So to the extent you do not have pictures of him with guns already, then I would admit it, but if you do, then I'm going to exclude it as cumulative.
Okay. So you get one photo of the guns, yeah. That's it.
The pictures, so the numbers that are listed, Your Honor, in our synopsis, those 10 pictures, show specific tattoos on his person, which are different tattoos that we believe are relevant. So one tattoo has YSL, another tattoo has a line like with a snake, another tattoo has a 5-point star, another has a tattoo of a die or two dice with 5.
She said a die. It sounded like dyke. I thought she said dyke also. The judge says, a what? That's what I was like, a what? Okay, so now Nikki Hilton is trying to admit 20 photos of tattoos when they have a photo of the person with the tattoos exposed. So instead of like a photo of me with like, I don't know, my arms with my there we go. Instead of like a photo like this, you have a photo like this. And instead of getting, hey, that's your arm and that's your wrist, right? Hello. They want to do individually a photo of each fucking tattoo. Like, we're going to be here forever. We're going to be here for a goddamn eternity, y'all. I am going to be a great-grandmother by the time this is over. And my daughter is 11 and my son is going to be 20 in December.
The black dots. And let's see. So
that's 5. What are the other 5?
other tattoos. So one has the number 5 with a fire again. We believe that 5 signifies blood. That he's a member of the Bloods.
Okay, so why don't you pick one of the 5 tattoos and whichever one of those. So dice, fire, plain 5, y'all pick one.
But they're all different symbols.
I know, I understand.
Okay, so you want for the representation of 5, you want to pick one thing that represents 5?
Different symbols.
Yeah.
We don't need 5 different photos of 5 different tattoos. It's unbelievable.
The other ones have Making in Cleveland, which is him talking about Cleveland Avenue, or Cleveland Avenue being Cleveland. So that's not included in the 5 that you're...
Tell me what tattoo that is. Which image is that? So, how about the overall one? Do you need that if you're going to be zooming in on?
Thank you.
The overall, so you can see that it's him in the picture, so that's why we have the overall one.
Okay.
Then why not just use the overall and zoom?
Okay, well then, do you need the next one?
Why not use the overall and
After
zoom?
641 and 642, we can... Let me make sure. Yeah, 642 where you can see the YSL more prominent. To 648, 5 with 659 is the one with the dice.
Yeah, Nene. Nobody has their gun locked. You might have
But if you haven't...
your gun collection locked, but everybody has, not everybody, I understand, like, not the whole world owns a gun, but most gun owners have a gun nearby that they could grab in case some mofo breaks in their house. The fuck? Also, y'all, I'm teasing this man with his accent because I think it's funny as shit. If you don't like it, move the fuck along. I don't care. Get out of here.
I mean, number 1 to show it's him, and then number 2, you can see a whole lot of the Haiti Baby and the YSL and...
Yeah, you see the
all kind
tattoo.
of
So
things just by zooming in on that one.
Whitaker's like, why not just use
But
your photo?
when the jurors have, they won't be able to zoom in on it. They'll be able to see what's in front of them once they admit it. Yes, you can zoom in.
He's going to testify to this.
He's
He's going to be like, yeah, these are my tattoos, and here's what they mean. Or just, yeah, these are my tattoos.
tattoos on have. He'll give his version, but he'll have an expert who are familiar with these tattoos.
Yes, this is cumulative for sure. For sure. Come on.
Okay, well. Just pick one rendition of the 5s and use that. We don't need all 3 of them.
Thank you.
Next folder, there's a 911 call? Okay, what's that?
So, Your Honor, there's a single 911 call and CAD report. There's a shooting.
Now there's this whole discussion. I'm not going to sit through it because I've already listened to it like 4 times. There's this whole discussion, and it is so fucking ridiculous. Uh-oh. Tea Latte, if you come into the South and you say you all, you're done. The first time you say you all to a group of Texans, good God. They'd be like, what the fuck does you all mean? Get out of here, you damn Yankee. Okay. A conversation is about to ensue in the court about this, I would argue, incredibly cumulative evidence. Prosecution is going to enter a 911 call about a March 12th shooting on, I don't know, Whitlock, I don't know, some road. I'll say Whitlock. Then they want to admit a March 13 911 call where the caller says, hey, there was a shooting last night and my car windows are busted. Then they want that caller's boyfriend to come in and say, yeah, there was a shooting that night. And, there's these shitty people living in the neighborhood and they're really bringing it down. Why do you need 3 people? Why do you need 3 people? I am like so freaking confused why they need. So if they have the boyfriend that's going to be like, yeah, I lived in the neighborhood. Why not just have the boyfriend? I lived in the neighborhood. There was a shooting on this day. My girlfriend's windows were broken out. There was a shooting on this day. This happened. There was a shooting on this day. That happened. Like, why not have the one dude? Why are you going to have the 911 lady who we've already seen 8,000 times? We've seen her 8,000 times. Why not just do all the 911 calls at once? I don't know. I don't know why they want to do the 911 calls chronologically. It kills me. Okay, so why you need the woman? Why you need her boyfriend? Except to bolster victims, right? And the victimhood. And they've done that over and over in this case. Remember the dude with like half his head blown off? Remember there was some woman who got robbed? Like, there have been so many victims who have added absolutely 0% nothing at all. So now they spend the next like 15 minutes talking about these stupid, you know, like cumulative evidence. And it just goes on and on. And it's like, oh my fucking God, the on and on of this case is what is really just so annoying. Hi, Raynette. It's okay. Better late than never. Just glad you're here. Okay, so this was Wednesday. Now, I was traveling for work, so, you know, I was in and out. But, God, I got irritated as hell.
A generalized
Shard has just, y'all, Shard is just takes my breath away. Take my breath away. I won't sing, I promise. But he has like gone from like baby lawyer to like Johnny Cochran level advocate. You know, like he's gone from like, who's that guy? Is his name Max or Matt? To holy, this is one of the best lawyers I've ever seen do his job before. It's been a pleasure to watch him. It has been a pleasure to see him grow and to be part of this journey with him, even though he doesn't even know us.
I don't think that's appropriate. I don't think it's appropriate to just paint in a broad brush with testimony. And so I disagree with the state when they assert that this gentleman would be adding a lot more about what's going on with the house. It was just kind of a complaint that
okay, so here he's talking about the boyfriend. Was just talking about like, no, it's just the neighborhood has gone downhill. He's complaining generally about, and you know, if y'all are over 35, you're complaining about the neighborhood going downhill. Like on your 35th birthday, all of a sudden you begin to complain. Everything, complain here, complain here, complain here. And then, you know, what better thing to complain about than your own neighborhood? Hello.
Beacon Garlington, Jada Myrick through his girlfriend at the time, Ashley Ellison. And so we will introduce some form to make it easier for the jury to see. Maybe not this exact document, but there will be some demonstratives to make these text messages easier to put before the jury and not just before the jury.
What's the objection?
I get that, Your Honor. My concern is that in this, I'll call it a demonstrative, whatever the state's working on, there is irrelevant information that's placed out of context. For instance, my recollection, the first on that colored Excel spreadsheet, the first line says something, has a phone number, and it says SB. Now, I don't know if SB is supposed to be.
Y'all better believe if the letter is SB with the S first and the B following it shows up on any document at all ever, Max Shar going to have something to say about it. Max Shar going to have something to say about SB. That could be my client. Oh, hell no. He did this morning. He was talking about in the footer or something. It said SB. He's like, well, that could be SB is my client's nickname. SB. Shard goes hard in the paint. Shard is, oh Lord. If I ever had the horrible nightmare of being in Fulton County and becoming arrested, I would absolutely hire Max Shard. 100%. That is the lawyer I would hire.
Song with Calvin Watts references.
They went on to like eat lunch and do stuff. Now they're talking about a song that referenced Kelvin Watt or Shell Kel, and then there's like a phone call talking about, well, should we, or some writing, should we remove the reference to Shell Kel in case something happens to him? I don't want to be blamed. Which I don't know why the defense wouldn't want this in, because to me, this shows that they weren't necessarily in a gang war. If you're removing the dude's name because you don't want anything to come back on you about him, I don't know. I feel like that helps prove innocence in mine. Not that you have to prove innocence, but it does, in my mind, give a bit of doubt. Yeah, this judge does like Max Shard and Atkins. I'm guessing this judge has an adult son. because I have an adult son, and anytime someone reminds me of him in the least, like even the slightest, I just adore that person. Oh, your name is Noah? Oh my God. Oh, you're the best. Oh, you're 20? You're a 20-year-old boy? Oh, you must be amazing. Like, yeah, moms, we have bias in favor of our children, or we should. Okay, I'm gonna play this while I take a comfort break. I'll be right back. Oh, no.
Watching it, they would have to accept that for the truth of the matter asserted for any of this to make any sense. So I believe it is hearsay, and it doesn't fall under any exceptions.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to be objecting also, and maybe I'm wrong, but these conversations have to speak for themselves. It seems like the state would be violating 24-7-704B if they're relying on an investigator to come in and talk about the mens rea or the intent or the meaning of these words. I understand that an expert may be able to talk about a certain phrase or a code word, and that's under Blash, B-L-A-S-H versus State, 318 Georgia, 325. It's in Division 4, 898 Southeast 2D522, 2024 case. But if what Mr. Atkins is saying is that the investigator, I'm assuming it's Investigator Viverito, will be listening to a recording and then explain to the jury the meaning. I have an objection to all of these. I know I have no standing because Mr. Williams is not on these wiretaps, so I've been relatively quiet, but I will be objecting that the investigator gives some overall closing argument for the prosecution to say this is what's going on. So I didn't want, and you're making rulings, and I wanted you to take that into consideration if you don't mind.
All right. Were you saying that one of the detectives or investigators is going to say, here's what all of this meant? So,
Your Honor, this wiretap and on the state's witness list, this evidence of the wiretap is in Detective Viverito's folder. So
Right.
she is who is going to be, we have the T3 custodian who is going to, the state intends to lay the foundation for admissibility. But these wiretaps will be introduced through or published when Investigator Viverito is on stand.
Okay, but is she then going to interpret them?
So, Your Honor, could the state get back to the court in terms of, I don't want to speak to the court about what, different members of the team prepare different witnesses. So I don't want to, if you give me a brief moment in terms of what, I don't know exactly what Investigator Viverito is going to be testifying to. What I was referencing is in terms of who, for example, if she's a gang expert who can rely on hearsay in terms of, as any expert can, who is Bob Smith? Bob Smith is XYZ, right? I know he's a member of this group because I personally seen him or arrested him or whatever she says. And I know it's different depending on what she's talking about. But in terms of, I would like more time to accurately brief the court on this issue that Mr. Steele just brought up. If that's all right with you.
Okay, but you haven't already said that. I mean, that's...
Said what part, Your Honor?
Your argument for this portion coming in didn't have anything to do with that, right?
Not for him changing. No. And in terms of this specific clip, he doesn't use the word shell kill. So like this short 40-second term, I believe that's what he's referring to because of other wiretaps. But we've obviously reduced the amount of wiretaps we're introducing. And so I believe this one kind of speaks for itself in terms of...
I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Yes,
is you're just going to have the jury listen to this, and then you might argue later what it meant or didn't mean. But there's not going to be a witness who gives their rendition of what it meant or didn't mean.
For specifically this, taking the name out of the song?
Yes.
I don't believe she was... And that's why I wanted to speak because I don't...
Okay.
I will confirm, but the state's intent was believe this specific portion of I need to take his name out of the song somewhat speaks for itself, but...
All right, so then, Mr. Steele, I'm not sure I'm following your 704 objection.
I don't hear the word shell cow, so I assume that the state's going to have somebody, I assume it's the investigator, Viverito, say what they're talking about. And no witness can get into someone else's mental
Well, that's
state.
what I'm trying to get a handle on, is whether this is going to be some other witness who then says, here's what I think is meant, or whether the state's simply going to let the jury hear it, and then later they're going to argue, here's the state's theory on this, because those are definitely two different things.
Yes, Your Honor. And to be clear, I mean, what happens quite frequently, and AP gang detectives and investigator Viverito, who is listed as a gang expert, could discuss, is how what's said in songs, whether true or not true, impacts what happens in reality in terms of the cases of the shooting, someone dissing someone in what response. So if that evidence, if the jury can combine evidence in the trial to make a determination, I do not believe investigator Viverito on this. We play this portion, she says, I'll tell you 100%, Burlington's talking about shell cow, and the song was titled XYZ, and there were two versions. That's not what I understand she will be speaking about. On this specific point, and it might be because Mr. Garnton was arrested at some point, I don't know exactly what song he's talking about. It's just the fact that he's cognizant and careful of what he puts in songs.
Okay.
So on that.
How does the fact that he's cognizant and careful of what he puts in songs show that he is part of a gang or a gang conspiracy? I don't understand the state and their presentation of information. I don't understand the state in their interpretation of the facts at hand and then add to that. I don't get it. I don't get it. Purple, I'm so sorry to hear about, your struggle, but I'm so glad you're here. And Kimberly, I agree. When Steele says C as in Colette, that's his wife's name. It is just the sweetest thing. Like, I hope my dude is like L as in Lauren. Like, oh my God, that would warm my heart so much. Okay, Purple has several guns. So, please, it's an American thing to own guns, y'all. It really bothers me how they use this stuff. Okay, let's just fast forward. Boring. Let's see.
Is the source of this information, I believe I know who Bree is that this Quay being discussed in the first call is neither of these two individuals, and is a separate Quay that is not even alleged, I've never seen alleged to be associated with YSL.
So they're trying to bring in information about a Quay that doesn't even, oh my God.
If that's the first call that gives the context, then the second call, Mr. Eppinger is ranting to Mr. Sumlin, who seems to be thoroughly confused by the whole situation, about someone named Yeo, who's not mentioned in our discovery at all other than this this wiretap. So he's obviously a very tangential part of whatever we're calling this. Yeo supposedly snitching on Quay. Now, I do believe that a relevance determination depends on what he's supposedly snitching on and who the Quay is. And I get, generally, or not generally, but sometimes we say, well, that's a jury question. The state, in my mind, before putting up all these statements, need to know what these people are talking about before putting it in front of the jury as just a baseline question. And I don't believe, unless the state can prove to me or show me that I'm wrong, I don't believe that the Quay that's even being discussed in either of these calls is anyone associated with this case or anyone sitting in this court.
Wow.
I do not know specifically. So I don't know specifically which Quay they're talking about. I know.
I'm sorry. You don't know.
That I don't have any information.
You want to bring evidence in against Quay, but you don't know which Quay they're. I just. I'm just frustrated, y'all. I'm just frustrated on, like... It doesn't understand... I don't understand the whole point. Now, I do understand that Fani ran her whole ticket on, like, anti-gang bullshit, blah, blah, blah. And I get that they're trying to go and disseminate these gangs. What I don't understand is why my tax dollars are being spent to present a case that has no organization whatsoever, like really seems to not have any foundation in law or fact. Crazy. Okay, so I'm sure you've all seen, and I just want to go over this because they're going to come back in 15 minutes and I got to go because I have like actual work I have to do today. All right, so the state has moved to revoke Antonio Sledge's probation. Now, at first, I was like, why Sledge and not Trontavious Stevens? But thinking about it here and now, Tick had it. Sledge came in and even had his lawyer come in and say, hey, I wouldn't have signed to that number 8 you snuck in. So he, in front of the jury, really called out the state and their issues, right? And he really called out in front of the jury, like, this wouldn't have been signed. And his lawyer even, like, affirmed that. And so I believe that's why. Because Tick, even though his testimony, as I recall, was pretty, like, it was, like, pretty answer avoidant, he never came out and said, I wouldn't have signed that, I wouldn't have done this, I wouldn't have done that. Certainly he didn't have his attorney testify that someone snuck some language in. And so I'm wondering if that's why they chose Sledge and to go after Sledge over Tick. I also am curious how many more YSL members are supposed to be testifying. Because I think they're also trying to send a message to those future witnesses that you better show up and you better participate and you better not go against your plea. Nay, the defense should, if the lyrics have been admitted, then the defense should be able to use them, yes. If they have not been admitted, then maybe not. But the prosecution in this case is not going to be able to argue, oh no, there's a First Amendment right to free speech for the defense trying to enter lyrics if the prosecution themselves has entered lyrics. So they'll have to have some other argument about why those lyrics shouldn't come in. Okay. I am Lyin Cadilac, aka OG Cadillac. I am a Dallas, Texas attorney, a litigator. I guess I'm really all over Texas. I just happen to stay in Dallas. I litigate cases throughout the whole state, and I follow trials. I follow YSL every Friday at 10 a.m. I go live. If they're in court, we watch court together. When they're on breaks, we discuss it. On Wednesdays, right now, I am covering the Sarah Boone case. If you don't know, Sarah Boone is the woman who convinced her boyfriend to get into a suitcase, and then she zipped him shut and left him there to die. It's crazy. So, I release Sarah Boone videos on Wednesdays. This week, for my viewers only, I have some special Diddy content coming out. I'm sorry, for my members only. And next week, the week after that, for my members only, we'll have special court footage of me arguing in court. So if you aren't a member, please do join so that you can see that material. Also, if you're a member and you're interested in Sarah Boone, we release those videos to members before we release them to the public. So I want to thank everyone for your likes, for your subscribes. It's been lovely hanging out with you this morning, as it is every Friday morning. I'm so glad you made it. I was like worried about you a little while ago, so glad you're here. Thank you to all of my subscribers, all of my members, and in particular, thank you to my, excuse me, in particular to my wonderful moderators. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. Also, shout out to Belen, because she does all of the thumbnails and she's amazing. Hey Clifton, good to see you. Thank you everyone for joining us. They should be back on in 11 minutes, and we will watch that individually because I've got to go. Thank you, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.